welcome to New York Comic Con. I'm so excited to be moderating for HBO's His Dark Materials today, and we have some very exciting people to bring out. So we are going to start with the one and only executive producer, Jane Tranter. Next up, we have Amir Wilson, series star, plays Will Perry. And we've got James Mcavoy, Lord Azrael. And last but certainly not least, we have executive producer Dan McCullough. And he's not even last, because we also have, joining us virtually from the UK, Daphne Keane.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Thank you guys all so much for being here. New York Comic Con.
Thanks for having us.
Very exciting.
Thank you for the hype music as well. That was really unexpected.
Now, it has been a long 2 years to wait for this show to come back, and I know everybody is so excited to see what we have in store for them today. But just to kind of give the fine Comic-Con goers a little bit of a reminder of where we left off, Jane, would you just give us a refresher on where season 2 concluded?
I will, but I'm just going to start by saying how brilliant it is to finally be in a room with you all again. It seems like it's been a long time since we were in San Diego Comic-Con for season 1, and then we did season 2 online, and then it's taken us a couple of years to get out season 3. So thank you for your patience, and it's really brilliant to be here. You are amazing fans. Thank you. So just to remind you, as if you needed any reminder of where we left everything at the end of season 2, it's a tricky situation for Lyra. She is in a wooden box and with Pan, with Mrs. Coulter sailing across the sea to where? We don't yet know. Lord Azrael is summoning angels and appears to be on the start of his great journey, his great quest. Will has just experienced the joy of meeting his dad and the loss of his dad, and now has lost Lyra, so he's in a whole heap of trouble. And Mary Malone is going on the journey of a lifetime. So it was a true cliffhanger, I think, at the end of season 2, and you need to watch season 3 to find out what happens next.
Amazing, amazing. Now, this third season is going to have a lot of new locations. Dan, what can you say about some of the new spots that we're going to be seeing that you guys have put together for us?
Right from the top of season 3, we're going to be seeing Azrael's Republic. It's the place that he's built from the ground up. It's where he's been furthering his thinking and experimentations on dust. And we will also see the antithesis of that. We will see the Clouded Mountain, which I can't say much about. That will be a big reveal later in the show. But it will be the answer, or the enemy to Azrael. And lastly but not least, we will see the Malefa.
Very nice.
And also the Kingdom of the Dead, right?
And we will see the Land of the Dead.
The Land of the Dead.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what we're all just really excited about, honestly. But also, James, we are so glad to see you back on this show. We only got a little bit of Lord Azrael.
Just a little bit, a little bit of Azrael. Yeah, he does a lot with just a little. So hopefully he doesn't do too much with a little bit more in season 3. It's an absolute honor to get to play this character, whether it's just a little bit like in season 1 or like a smidgen of a bit in season 2. But to get to come back in season 3 and finally bring you the the actuality of all the stuff that he's been saying he's going to do. He's like, I'm going to bring war against the heavens. I'm going to take down the authority. I'm going to bust a hole in the sky. I'm going to bring together the best from every world. Oh, it's a lot of talk. And in season 3, you get to see him actually do it. And he's like this locomotive train that is just going to barrel forward, and nothing is going to stop him until the love of his life and the daughter of his life walk back into his life. And of course, all the wheels fall off.
Amazing. And then Amir. Will also is going to be going on quite a journey this season. How much pressure is on him to fulfill his father's dying wish of being the knife bearer and bringing the knife to Lord Azrael?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, fulfilling anyone's dying wish is hard, but especially his father's is even harder. It drives him throughout the whole series. You know, his father's wishes, it kind of motivates him throughout the whole series. He ends up getting sidetracked, getting pulled to the land of the dead. He gets to see some familiar faces and some unfamiliar faces. You know, he ends up meeting Yorick Barneson. He ends up seeing Baruch and Balthamos. Yeah, it's a crazy journey for him, and being able to play Will has been such fun for me.
Absolutely. And then Daphne. Hi.
Hi.
Lyra has been kidnapped again by her mother. What does that look like this time? What can you say about this most recent kidnapping of hers?
Well, I can say it's sleepy. There's not much going on for Lyra. She's very much asleep and passed out for most of it. So at least it's not painful.
That is a good point. That is a good point. Where do Lyra and her mother go from here? Like, how does that relationship kind of evolve this season?
I think this season, what's complex about Mrs. Coulter and Lyra's relationship this season is that we explore a theme that we haven't explored before, which is the love that Lyra has for Mrs. Coulter, which is something we haven't really seen, because there's always been that like initial hate, I guess. And I think as she grows up, she starts having those feelings towards her mother, which are natural, but which she hasn't felt before because she hasn't had a mother. And it was really interesting to get to investigate that and to navigate how complicated her relationship with both her parents is, but especially with all the Mrs. Coulter stuff.
Absolutely. And speaking of her other parent, her father, James, is Lord Azrael even thinking about his daughter at this point? Is he just kind of solely focused on this war?
Somebody asked me earlier, like, you know, his love for his daughter is really complicated. I was like, I don't know if it's even existent. It's, look, if he loves his daughter, it's a very different love to the one I recognize with my children. And he's pretended that he's her uncle for the first 12 years of her life, and he has killed her best friend. And he is constantly, you'll see it even more in season 3 if you've read the 3rd book, like he's really down on her, and like he says a lot of bad stuff about her. I don't know that he doesn't love her or actively dislikes her. I don't know about that, but maybe he does. But he definitely has got bigger things on his plate than fatherhood. And I think that he is this self-obsessed, self-righteous guy trying to do what he thinks is right and happy to do anything to get it done. But the journey for him then is about this little girl derailing his entire worldview and his entire opinion of himself. This guy who's got this massive ego and this little girl, like he thinks he's Spartacus. She's Spartacus. You know what I mean?
She absolutely is a part of this.
Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
Spartacus. She's like, she is a part of this. I'm like, well, she's the lead. No, Spartacus.
Spartacus.
Yeah.
That as well.
I'm part of this. No, I'm part of this. I'm part of this. No, I'm part of this.
What is his plan for this war? Like, what is Lord Azrael's plan?
What is his plan for the war? Well,
yeah.
He's going to win it, and then everybody's going to get McDonald's. And no, look, he's trying to emancipate the human soul, the human spirit from the oppression of tyrannical institutional abuse. Not a bad thing, a very good thing. But he is just a guy who is willing to justify his ends or justify his means by the grandeur and the righteousness of his ends, and that's not okay. Your means have to be as full of integrity as your end as well. And that is something that I think he learns from his daughter, because she's all about being in the moment. She's not playing forward to the end goal, trying to achieve any goals. She's just trying to do the right thing in the moment at every single moment that she inhabits. Whereas he is always in the future trying to get the right end, doing the wrong thing to get there. And he learns from her, and he's embarrassed because of her, not for her, but he's embarrassed for himself because of her. And I think his ego takes this massive hit because of her as well.
Absolutely. And in order for him to learn all this from her, she needs to be woken up from her kidnapping slumber that we
Should we wake her up now?
discussed.
I don't know. Is she asleep?
No, she's good.
It's so good.
Daphne,
Sorry.
you get it.
Sorry, this thing is not the technology. Can you come again?
It's late there.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. Don't worry. Now, Amir, Will has to kind of go and search for Lyra this season. What does that journey look like for him?
Oh, it's a mad journey. I mean, I touched on it earlier, but he meets angels, he meets bears, and doing that was crazy.
He's just slicing through
Yeah,
worlds.
slicing through worlds. I mean, we find him at the beginning of season 3, and it was very important for me to portray that Will's grown up a lot. You know, his experiences have changed him, and he's kind of the lowest of the lows at the end of season 2, and by the time we catch him at season 3, he's got better at using the knife. He has new boots and new clothes. I don't know where he went shopping in between seasons, but he somehow has new clothes.
In his rucksack.
Yeah, in his rucksack, or TK Maxx. He managed to find clothes. And yeah, he meets angels and he meets bears, and they guide him in the right direction. Working with Joe Tanberg, who plays Yorick, was amazing, because he's such a brilliant actor, and he's able to go into that voice instantly. And doing that was really, really fun. You only heard about the stuff with bears in the previous seasons, because obviously I didn't get to experience any of that, but getting to do that in real life was amazing.
What was it like learning to cut between worlds? Did you get any particular direction in terms of that?
I actually did. I worked with a movement coach at the beginning of season 3, actually, just kind of establish what it felt like to cut through worlds, and what it felt like to close worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And it got easier and easier as the job went by.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Disney Channel, like the Mickey Mouse thing that you have to do, but you do it wonderfully.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very much.
Now, I want to talk about the tone of season 3, because season 3 is just an entirely different beast from the first 2 seasons. How would you describe the tone, Jane?
Challenging, I think. So if you think that everything in his Dark Materials starts off in Lyra's world, which is a world which is like but unlike our own, and the actions of Lord Azrael in the retiring room really is the kind of lighting of the touch paper that explodes everything. So we go from a world which is like and unlike our own into Chittagazzi, which is also quite similar to ours, only it's got really horrible, creepy things in it, and it is a different world. And then in season 3, we're kind of like opening up to lots of different things. And I would say that season 3 is probably, on one level, the most grounded that his Dark Materials becomes. It's extremely emotional. It's very emotional between Asriel and Coulter, Azrael and Lyra. As Azrael goes on this journey, it's very emotional between Lyra and Will. It's very emotional between the angels. So it unpacks the nature of the human condition stuff that Philip Pullman does so well. But at the same time, we are talking about angels. We are talking about making a run on the kingdom of heaven. We are talking about Metatron and the Dark Angel. We are talking about all these crazy stuffs, but we're doing it in a way always that pulls down to us and the way that we live. So the tone is grounded fantasy, but a lot more emotional. Along with its epic adventure stuff than the previous seasons, I would say.
Wonderful. There was a conversation that we had earlier where you told me this quote that Philip Pullman had told you.
Yes.
Could you tell the audience that
Yes.
story? Because
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. In fact, I haven't even told James this. This was quite recent. So I had a conversation with Philip a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about season 3. And Philip travels this journey with us, but he's on a different path. He's way in front of us on the Book of Dust, and we're sort of hurrying behind him, waving as he goes into the distance. And he said to me, "Oh, Jane, I feel I left you a whole load of problems with the amber spyglass." And I was kind of like, "Yeah, mate, we thought the Mulefa were bad, but, then along came the angels, and what were we going to do about that? And then we got the Galavespians, and oh my God, you're right." And he said, no. He said, "I mean with Lord Azrael. Azrael is one of the finest of my character creations, the man that you can't quite get to know. He's the man that everyone talks about." And he said, "But I didn't leave you with that many scenes to dramatize." And he loves what we've done with Asriel in terms of pulling out his journey in order to be able to see some of the mechanics of what Asriel's doing before the story really kicks off, as per the Amber Spyglass, when Asriel's camp's already established. And I thought that was really interesting and really quintessential Pullman, that he never sees all of these big high fantasy stuff as problems. That's just things that you get on with. It's kind of like, what do you do with character? That he was boiling it all down to. So he loves Jane's performance as Azrael, so it was a very happy conversation.
Amazing. Now we have a special surprise for you guys. We spoke about her a little bit already, but obviously the amazing Ruth Wilson could not join us today. But she did leave us a little message for the Comic-Con goers that we're going to throw up on the screens right now.
Hi, Comic-Con. I'm so sorry I can't be there this year to celebrate with you and to launch the final installment of the Summer Heroes. I've had an absolute blast playing this quarter. Those kind of roles don't really come along that often, and it's been a great privilege to work alongside a wonderful creative team, both in front and behind the camera. And like all of you, have been waiting so long for this third and final season. And all I can promise you is that it is going to be epic. So I hope you enjoy. I will miss Mrs. Coulter, and I'll miss all of you. And here is Mrs. C signing off.
Aww.
Amazing. Now, there are so many things to unpack about this season. I feel like we're just going to jump around a bunch, but Lyra is prophesized to be Eve, and that is a very big part of season 3. What does this mean for her? Daphne, do you want to kind of take that away?
I will, now that I can get the technology working. I think it's a big theme. I think it's quite interesting, the fact that Lyra doesn't really know about this through any of the seasons. She's just going about life. I was going to say regularly, but there's nothing regular about Dark Material, so just as she does. And it's really interesting, like, going back into what James said about, I think we always talk about goodness and greatness, and I think that's such a big theme with Lyra, and I think that's what makes her Eve, and I think that's what is lost with all of the rest of the adults in the show, because there's some pretty questionable adult figures in the show. And I think that's what makes Lyra such a precious and interesting character. I think that's what made season 3 Lyra so interesting, because she's kind of entering that new, like, grown-up world where it's more complicated. She's faced death before, but she has to go and make amends with, I think I'm allowed to say she sees Roger again, which is huge, and it was super fun to get to work with Lewin again. And it was really interesting getting to do all of those things and getting to really navigate Lyra's character through all of these, like I said, more adult themes. She experiences death, she experiences love, she experiences war, she experiences just basically everything in this season. It was really, really interesting to navigate that.
And just bouncing off of the growing up of it all, now you two obviously both kind of grew up on this show, and this season we're going to be seeing a budding romance, potentially, between Will and Lyra, maybe. You want to talk about that a little bit, Amir?
I mean, yeah, the approach I've always had to it, and I think Daphne will agree, it's never been seen as a romance, it's been seen as a friendship, and I've kind of liked the idea that everyone can see what's going on, including the audience, except Will and Lyra, until something happens. If something happens, you have to find out. And yeah, is that right, Daphne? Would you agree?
I'd agree. I think again, going back into these adult themes, that's kind of what, if it does happen, what would click reality, without giving anything away, what does click into reality is realizing that there is something that is more than friendship, is something that they have never experienced with other friendships. And I think, no, I'm not, spoiler, not going to do that, sorry, not going to do that.
Thank you, Daphne.
Just drink your water, you'll be fine,
Not going to do that.
Now, I want to talk about some of the characters that are not here, and some of the creatures that obviously are not present. Thank God, that would be a little scary. There's just so many new and returning beings and people in the show. You mentioned Mary Malone earlier, and I think Simone Kirby is just so great in this role. What does her journey look like this season? Because she's also kind of like Will, slicing through worlds at this point.
It's a long journey. It's a long journey accompanied by a very small rucksack, a bottle of water, and a small sun hat. Mary is, I think she's one of the most interesting characters, and she is a scientist who has also had great faith in her life. So that sort of combination of the logic of her mind and the faith of her soul means that in season 2, when the angels speak to her through the shadow particles on her computer in her cave, means that she takes their challenge to go and be the serpent. And it really is an exploration of great faith, that she believes this is the right thing to do, just as Will believes it's the right thing to do to go and find Lara. I mean, frankly, Will could have gone back home through that window in Chittagazze and gone to find his mum.
Probably should have, to be honest.
Yeah. It would have been a short season.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah. And just as Lara, didn't have to go to the land of the dead to find her best friend, Mary Malone doesn't have to go and do this thing, but she has faith that it's the right thing to do, and she wants to help Lara. And so Mary Malone journeys. It's a very lonely journey. She journeys through the worlds. We see her in some of the worlds, eventually ending up in the worlds of the Mulefa. And that was very interesting, wasn't it? We invented a whole language for Mary Malone and the Mulefa to talk to each other, which is quite a big expansion on the book, I think.
We did in early discussions with Philip. When you're tackling a book of this size, you really want to get to the nub of every chapter and every world and understand the essence of what it is that you want to take forward with the book. And in the early meetings with Philip, we'd want to be like, well, what about the intention craft? Or like, really what about a Galavespian? Really how tall are they? And the thing that Philip said, which I'll always remember, which was the Mulefa, the one thing you have to do, the one thing you cannot let slip, is that they have to pick up a seed pod and they have to be able to travel on them. And we were like, cool, okay. I'm sure we can do that, no problem, Philip. And we went away 3 months later, and thankfully we figured it out.
Yeah, that is pretty much the biggest challenge, I think, of the Amber Spyglass, is pulling that off. And I think people are going to be really excited to see that.
Well, it's one of those ones where actually, I think someone asked me at the premiere of season 1, what I've been frightened of in bringing Northern Lights to the screen. And I said, really nothing in Northern Lights frightens me, because I've got the Mulefa to think about. And actually, I think myself, Dan, Joel Collins, our production designer and executive producer, Russell Dodgson, our amazing visual effects supervisor, spoke a lot about the Mulefa while we were working on season 1 and season 2, which meant on season 3, they kind of came out quite sweetly. They sort of came out like we knew them. I mean, I hope you agree, but they weren't the strange thing to bring to the screen that we thought, and we have given them a language. Some of it is subtitles, some of it is done through sign. It felt like an organic thing to do. Actually, the angels were very much harder.
Yeah.
How you make an angel appear so that Amir and James, who have a lot of contact with angels, can actually act with them, rather than it being a visual effects presence, was a big thing, wasn't it? How we got the two of you into a room so that you could have proper acting scenes with other actors, rather than with a curious kind of visual effects thing.
Yeah, we were definitely acting with actors. That was amazing. 'Cause you're not always, are you? But there was a part of me that was going, are you guys just going to see, even though I've got an actor here and this is fantastic, and they're all done up kind of like an angel in their kind of planetary form rather than their celestial form, which is very, very different and quite CGI reliant. Yeah. There was a part of you going like, is this just going to get CGI'd anyway and you're going to look wildly different than the person I think I'm acting at? But it was really cool, and I think one of the things that these guys have done for us as actors throughout the whole show is no matter how spectacular or how crazy or how weird the thing happening in the scene is, we've always got human connection as performers, and there it gives it a little bit more, I don't know, something grounded in reality to be able to convey to the audience, even if it is something of a spectacle happening in the visual sense, you know?
Now, we didn't see the angels in their full form. We kind of got like a glimpse of the shimmeriness of them in the season 2 finale. Dan, what was like the biggest challenge practically of putting these angels together for screen?
Putting what, sorry, together?
The angels.
How did we get the shimmer on the angels?
Yes, yes.
It's a lot of Max Factor.
Exactly.
A lot of Vaseline.
A lot of party makeup, a lot of glitter.
I think the angels were the angels were iterative from the very beginning. They were you glimpse them in the main titles. You know, if you go back and watch it now, it's more obvious. But they were something that were always in our minds right through and making the show. And that's what you get when you get the benefit of looking back on 3 books. You can kind of think from the very beginning about how to tackle it as a trilogy, not just piece by piece. So you'll see from the very beginning with the main titles, Hint of the Angels in Chisagazi, you'll see the angels inform the shape that we made to season 3. And then at the end of season 2, when he calls them out the sky, we then took that version of it and we humanized them as much as we could, via casting, via the writing. And then we let them move between these 2 images, these 2 forms throughout. And it became a very key part of Azrael's understanding of, his next move against the authority in season 3.
Amazing. Now, season 3, I mean, there's so many things to cover. I know, James, you're a huge Pullman fan. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite thing that you were excited to see from the books in season 3?
I was excited to see the Land of the Dead, even though I couldn't remember the name of it a minute ago. The Kingdom of the Dead. Couldn't wait to meet the King of the Dead, people. I was excited to see that, but for my own self, Azrael has been such a massive part of it for me since when I started to read it back in my early 20s. To see what he was up to flesh out what had been happening to him, because as we've said already, what he and Coulter get up to a lot of the time is alluded to but not illustrated. And so to get to try and meet the very high bar that is Philip Pullman's imagination and try and create something that is worthy of being mentioned in the same sphere as that was amazing. Also just knowing that he's such a locomotive, such a train, so driven, willing to do incredibly terrible, amazing and spectacular things. I knew there was going to be some interesting moments to play. So just excited to see what happened next with him. And then also knowing that he needs to be challenged and he needs to be found wanting in that challenge. And he needs to make a pretty transformative decision because he has passed through that challenge and come out the other side. That's what I like acting for, to show the changes. You're only there for the key change. Do you know what I mean? It's the best bit of the song. It's the best bit of acting. Best bit of drama. It's where the key changes and when the person goes from here to here, and that's such a pivotal and important moment for Azrael, and it's all about that wee ghetto.
And there will be some physical changes to Azrael this season too, because you teased a certain hairstyle earlier.
I do actually have a ponytail. That's not hilarious. It's very manly. All right.
There's
I
Is
actually.
that in the book, James?
That is, I don't think it is in the book, is it? I don't know why. I just thought I'm going to have a ponytail in this. It was probably because I'd been through the pandemic and grown my hair too long. My own man bun stroke ponytail looked really bad, but with the help of amazing makeup and hair effects, we actually managed to make it look pretty good and cool on Azrael. But you guys can decide.
Now, I can't promise that the ponytail is going to be in this, but I believe we have a first look at season 3. Is that right, Jimmy?
Yeah.
That's something we can throw up on the screen for
We
you
do.
guys?
You will find the ponytail is in it.
Yes. There you go. So that was some big news. We've got a premiere date, December 5th. We've got Lin-Manuel Miranda returning. And so this season is actually going to be 2 episodes every week. So you guys get double the His Dark Materials fun. It'll be a 2-episode premiere as well. The series finale will be taking place the day after Christmas, December 26th on HBO. So it's going to be really, really exciting. But I want to talk about, Merry Christmas, guys. Like, I mean, if you celebrate, like, this is perfect. Now, what was it like bringing Lynn back? I mean, what were the talks with that? Like, why? I mean, he's wonderful, so, of course.
He was just so amazing. He really, he's one of the busiest people in the world, and he just said, "Tell me when you want me," and we did, and he came over and he did it. He wanted to complete the journey. I think he wanted to complete it for himself. I think he wanted to complete it for Daphne and Amir. It's big stuff that they have together in the Land of the Dead, and he wanted to complete it for the sake of the books and the project. So back he came to do it. So it was up. Yeah, I'd love to say that Dan and I used all of our cunning strategy and wiles to get him over, but honestly, he was kind of like, "Yep, I love Cardiff, I love the show. Just tell me when you want me," and he'll try and fit it in, and he did. Bless Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah.
Amazing. And we got to see the Land of the Dead a little bit.
Yeah.
Amir, now Will is obviously traveling to the Land of the Dead. What does that journey look like for Will and Lyra?
Oh yeah, it's mad. I was really, really excited to film The Land of the Dead, and then it got to week 3, and I was still in a dark studio, and I was every day. It was really, really fun. I mean, me and Daphne had a blast. We'd leave set, blow our nose, and loads of black sand would come out. But Joel Collins and everyone involved in building these sets did an amazing job, not just in Land of the Dead, but in all of them. It really felt like we were there, and it was so immersive, and I can't thank them enough for that, because it really helped me and everyone else who was acting on these sets to really feel like they were there. So really appreciative of that.
Well,
I came back from, I don't know where I was. I think I was in America doing something, and
As you do.
Acting or something. And I came back to film the final 3 weeks of my bit, and the crew and like a lot of the actors and you guys were all a bit sort of pale and pasty and just a bit dazed. Do you know what I mean? I was like, what's been going on? And like, we've been filming The Land of the Dead, man.
No sunlight.
Yep.
I was shoving vitamin D tablets down my mouth because so we'd walk
There's
into
no
the
sign of the
studio
Land of the
and
Dead.
leave, and it was dark.
It was like everybody had been drained of something,
it
the
was.
same way it is in the show in The Land of the Dead.
I felt dead.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Forgive you.
Now, season 3 is also going to test the relationship between Lyra and Pan a little bit. Daphne, why don't you talk about the evolution between Daphne, talk about the evolution between Lyra and her demon.
It was really, really fun to do this season because it was very different to what we'd done. The first 2 seasons of the show, Lyra's very, very joined to Pan, and I think as everyone goes in their youth, Lyra has a crisis. She goes through this identity crisis-ish. But obviously in this case, your demon is your identity, is your soul. So it was very fun, and I got to act with Kit Connor, who's been voicing Pan for ages, and he's the greatest. He was so lovely. He came, we did a really intense scene, which I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about, but it was really, really fun. I got to shout, I got to cry, which I love. It was a really fun day. Kit was amazing, and we just got to really investigate that kind of more complex relationship of Lyra and herself, which was really, really fun. And also, I think that Pan might be in New York right now, is what I've heard.
That is what I've heard as well.
Separated again.
Yes.
Again.
Yes, but Pan is here. We have puppeteer Amber Perry. Amber Perry is here in the audience. She is a puppeteer for his Dark Materials. And she has got
She's
the
in the
Pan
audience.
puppet.
Yep.
And if you see her, she's over here on the side.
Yep.
Amber also was the key puppeteer for Stella Maria, and we worked together really, really closely as much as we could, trying to figure out what would be going on in between me and Stella Maria. She's amazing. She's an amazing puppeteer. Amazing artist.
All the puppeteers on these shows are amazing, and it's hard obviously when you're acting against an animal that's not there and you're acting against a puppet. But the actors and the puppeteers who are there for you on the day honestly make it so easy for us. You know, we're so lucky to have them.
Awesome. Now I think Amber's gonna keep doing her thing. I lost visual, but she's got a couple puppets over there. I'm not sure who she's gonna whip out, but. While Amber does her thing, I think we have a few minutes left for an audience Q&A. If folks would like to line up for that. Do we have microphones? All right, first question.
Hi, I'm Mike from Queens.
Hey, Mike.
That is awesome. I just got a hello from James McAvoy. All right, my question is, if you had your choice of any exotic animal in the world to be your demon, no extinct one, no dinosaurs, what would it be and why?
I would go for a sea otter, because they're real. I mean, if it's not going to be a snow leopard, which is badass, a sea otter, because they have a lot of sex and they have a lot of fun and they eat a lot and they sleep a lot, and that sounds like heaven to me.
Good choice.
Thank you.
I'd probably pick a bird of prey, like a golden eagle or something. I think something that could fly up as well as be on the ground. I think that's a good skill to have.
There's a small cat in South Africa. I can't remember its name, but it's very small. Apparently it can eat 12 times its own body weight. So I think I would be that. So my demon could do my body weight for me.
I know.
Bad wolf.
Actually, yes. Yes, I think if we're choosing our own demon rather than actually saying what your demon really should be, obviously, a wolf, a bad one, for sure. Thank you.
And Daphne, what would your demon be?
I think if I had to pick, I'd probably go for like a Black Panther, but in reality it would probably be like, I don't know, like a hamster or something. Like we have to be...
Good choices. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
All right, I think we got somebody over here.
Hello, yes, my name is Gabriela Taveras from the Dominican Republic. Thank you for having us today. And my question is, Pullman has expanded the universe of his Dark Materials beyond the trilogy with stories such as La Belle Sauvage and The Secret Commonwealth. And my question is, given the show's popularity, could we expect adaptations of these stories? And what are some of the themes in these books that you consider should be explored that were not dealt with in the original trilogy?
That's a big question.
Well, while everyone's thinking about their answers to the thematic one, I can do the Book of Dust one. I'm, like all of you, I'm a huge fan of Pullman's work. I love the Book of Dust. I actually think The Secret Commonwealth is probably my favorite, actually, out of all the books that Pullman's written. Philip is currently writing the third book, so we need to know where the story ends in order to know how to adapt the trilogy. If all of you watch his Dark Materials repeatedly and tell all of your friends to tell their friends, and do all the things that you fans need to do, then there is a chance that we can do the Book of Dust, but we have to land season 3 first and see where we go from there. But would, Bad Wolf like to make the Book of Dust? Oh yeah, we would. Yeah, for sure.
We actually, the Great Flood, La Belle Sauvage, the opening bit of La Belle Sauvage actually happens at the beginning of season 1, episode 1 as well, which is really nice. When that book first came out, we were just starting to shoot, so we were able to bring it forward. I think thematically, one of the things that's really interesting to explore is what the after effects of the Amber Spyglass does to Lyra, and catching up with her in the Secret Commonwealth, meeting this young woman who's suffering from what seems like depression at times, you know what I mean? Being divorced from her own soul, and what that did to her as a young girl, the trauma of that in adulthood later on is so sad, and it's so grown up, and seeing Pan run away from her, like, breaks my heart.
One thing that was interesting, the world changes while you make his Dark Materials, because it takes a long time to make it. And when we were in post-production and we were looking at Asriel's sort of Battle of Agincourt type speech to everyone in the Republic in order to build them up, to start the war on the Kingdom of Heaven. And you suddenly, in the light of everything that happened in Ukraine, you heard Azrael speak about freedom. And there was a sort of, the one thing we'd thought Azrael was challenging these Edwardian explorers, Azrael's channeling the most intelligent people, the Einsteins, the Hawkins, he's kind of like part explorer and part scientist and part kind of like passionate genius. And actually, when we cut that sequence together, there was a whole theme there to Azrael speaking to his men about the need to defend your freedom and to fight for it. And James very kindly came back and did a few small pieces of ADR for us to expand on that, because it was something that, his Dark Materials touches on the way we live in so many different ways, and then the world changes and it touches on it again. And so we double down on that a little.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, my name is Andres. I'm from Connecticut. My question would be, now that you guys wrapped up the show, did you guys take any props with you back home, secretively or blatantly?
I have the subtle knife at home, but I got gifted that. You do? I do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, do you not have one? Shame, that's a shame. I also
20 years
went
in the
into
business.
Azrael's bunker, and I took like loads of stuff from your set. I'm not joking, I just went in and... Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, we heard about this.
Yeah,
we did.
Oh,
Dan, send security round.
Yeah.
I've actually, Azrael wore in the show my own watch. I've got like kind of like a Boy Scout watch with a leather strap and a cover over it. So it was always mine anyway, and after 3 seasons, I'm taking it back.
I have the alethiometer, and I also steal a lot of things from that Asriel set.
yeah, we did that together. We pilgrimaged together, didn't we?
But he's stealing my shit.
Yeah.
Man, you guys pillaged.
Did you think we didn't know?
Yeah, we did. We were so convinced you guys didn't know, and we felt so secretive about it.
Yeah. We took so much as well. Like
we did.
Water bottles, like backpacks.
Yeah, it was.
No, Dan said, yeah.
Thank you for your time, guys. You guys are amazing.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank you. All right. Over here.
Hi, this is Karishma from New Jersey.
Hey.
My question is for James. James, first of all, huge fan.
Thank you.
You've played some very iconic characters that are very different from each other. Lord Azrael, Xavier, and Dennis, or the Beast from Split.
Aye.
So my question to you is, if all those 3 worlds blended, and all 3 of them ended up at the same bar,
I'd watch that.
what would they talk about?
Oh my God.
And if they got into a fight, who would win and why?
Right. Well,
Wow.
I think they would get together because they would recognize in each other the core element of their character, which is that they have extreme belief. They extremely believe in themselves, and to a fault for all 3. So maybe after their falls, their literal fall from grace for Azrael, maybe, after they've all fallen at the final hurdle because of their egos, because of their self-belief. They could all pat each other back in the bar and commiserate with each other and share their stories of woe. It's sort of self-belief anonymous. And and then if they were going to fight, who would win? Right. Charles would try and mind freeze everybody. Then he would probably succeed with Azrael, but he might not be able to do it to Stella Maria. So Stella Maria would go and rip his throat out, which would make so the professor's dead. Then yes, he's dead. Then the Stella Maria's getting all full bore like apex predator, ripping the neck out and kind of maybe enjoying the blood a wee bit too much, which gives the beast time to be inspired by the beastly presence of Stella Maria. Full beast goes on. He goes for the cat, recognizing another apex predator, and he's got to be the top of the food chain. And while he's doing that, Asriel's going like shit, and he's like, oh fuck, my ponytail's so cool. And he's like, and he grabs a bottle and smacks it over the beast, and then him and Stella go and watch a movie or something like that.
Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you.
I have a feeling you've thought about that before, haven't you?
Yeah, it's the long sleepless nights. I'm an insomniac, do you know what I mean?
I think we have time for one more quick one.
It's over there then.
Hi, I'm too short.
Hey, too short.
Hey, I'm too short as well, don't worry about it.
But I'm actually Alex.
Hello, by the way.
Hi. My question is in general, if there was anything in the book that you read, like the historical materials, any of them, that you didn't get to adapt to the screen, what was it? Like something you guys physically couldn't do?
Jane?
That we read in the books that we couldn't do?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, 8 hours of television is a long time until you come to adapt any one of those novels from his Dark Materials, and then it's kind of like probably 4 hours too little. But I think one of the things I particularly love about the Amber Spyglass is the Galavespians and the journey they go on, and that whole exploration of what it's like to be brave when you know your life is very short and what that means, and the particular tenderness and ferocity that those Galavespians have. And we weren't able to do that. We just didn't have time to do it. And they were very expensive, those little Galavespians. So that exists in my reader adaptation of his Dark Materials, not in our actual physical one.
Well, thank you all so much for coming out tonight to the His Dark Materials panel. That is all the time that we have today, but everyone, please go watch season 3.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. December 5th.